All right. Yo, what's up, everybody? How's it going? It's your boy, Danny Yankee, and I'm here with the main man from the BX. His name is Ayo Johnny G. What it do, baby?
Hello, Daniel Correa. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. It's Thursday, February 11th. Just celebrated my 34th birthday. I feel like an old bastard.
Happy birthday, Danny.
Hey, thanks, man.
I feel like there's been a lot of birthdays, but yours is always a fun one.
There's just been a lot of news in general, and well, a lot of the news started last Friday, right? What did you say?
Yeah, man. It's actually, I thought it's been a little bit the opposite. It's been a kind of low key. There was a big splash, of course, with Trevor Bauer. But I think all things considered, it's kind of been like a little bit lacking. But
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, yeah, as you alluded to, Trevor Bauer, uh, I guess you could say the highly touted free agent that was on the eyes of most teams, but of course, everyone was skeptical about how much money he wanted or how much money he actually deserved. But he ended up signing with the Dodgers, right? So the rich get richer. $102 million deal on a 3-year deal. He has an opt out after years 1 and 2, and he's set to be the make some record numbers here, man. $40 million his first season, 45 million in his second.
that's crazy.
Um, yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I guess and that doesn't surprise me because if you follow Trevor Bauer's any of his social medias, he is always into himself. He's always someone that's, I guess you could say, poised to promote his own brand. And he finally got that opportunity to do so. And he certainly did not hold back when it came to that. So, there were a few teams that they thought that he could have gone to. The Angels were being floated out there. The Mets, I guess, were the final team that he and his agent were using to sort of gain some more money. But at the end,
That was a really funny situation.
yeah,
I mean, who was it? Who was it that reported that he was going to the Mets? And then I forget who it was, man. I'm
that
bad.
was Bob Nightingale.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like pretty much a done deal.
he retired, right? Like that was it. Like he quit.
He, if not retired, probably should have deleted all of his social media because there were a lot of other people that made some pretty bad projections and they had to eat their words. But
So
yeah,
for those who don't know, Bob Nightingale came out. I think was it last Friday? It was last Friday or last Thursday.
it was Thursday. Yeah, it was the
He
night
came
before.
out and reported. I think he just tweeted something that said Mets have a deal in place with Trevor Bauer, and all Mets fans pretty much, jumped out of their seats and won the World Series last Thursday. And then who was the one that came out literally like 4 minutes after him and was like, nope.
Yeah, that was Joel Sherman. Or either Joel Sherman or Ken Rosenthal. I forget, one of those
I think
guys.
it was Ken. I think it was Ken. Yeah. So
Yeah, just like no deal in place, just shitted on his whole life. But rightfully so, man. Like in this day and age, everyone has to be first, right? And I think in all forms of media, we've sort of lost touch with that, and people have really sort of gotten away from the facts and just kind of putting it out there. And hey, if it's wrong, it's wrong. No consequences or anything. But yeah, so the Mets actually offered the highest overall, but the Dodgers made him the highest player over the next 2 seasons. And people seem to think that he teased his destination by giving away a signed Dodgers hat on his website. So that could have certainly been a little cryptic message that he was sending out in true Bauer fashion. But you know what's really wild about this, man? Like, so we talk about often how there's a lot of teams in Major League Baseball that it's just like, why do you even exist? And Trevor Bauer, in his first year making $40 million, he's going to be making more money than the Pirates at $30 million, the Orioles at $34.2 million, and,
Poverty.
and his former team, the Indians, at $36.5 million. Which
Poverty.
is which is why which is wild to think that just one player would net that kind of coin, especially Trevor Bauer. I don't really think that he's on the level of Garrett Cole, but whatever. Timing, location, and he got it done. 75 and 64 lifetime, 1,279 strikeouts, a 3.90 ERA. He was a 2018 All-Star coming off his Cy Young season. And, at the end of the day, man, I still think that's a lot of money given the fact that it was a 60-game season. He pitched 11 games, threw a 1.73 ERA, but you have to ask yourself, can those numbers truly be sustained over the course of 162 season?
No, no, that's too much money for this guy, man. I mean, I don't care. I'm not going to be in somebody's pocket, like by any means. But $40 million for a guy that had an outstanding 60 games. I mean, do you cut everyone who had a terrible 60 games? Because there's a few out there. And I think 2019 is what you should be looking at. Listen, he did great. This is a huge signing for them. Favorites to win the World Series, obviously. Again, just on paper. We were talking about this also with Bree the other day, and it's like, my feeling with Bauer is that obviously he's gonna, I would assume, regress from what he did over an entire season versus the 60-game season. But it's really hard to go back to back, man. Like, especially in baseball, there's like a good percentage of luck that's included, injury wise, or just like who's hot at the right time. So I'm not, gonna pick them to win the World Series. Our predictions are not coming until before opening day, but
right.
on paper, they're definitely the favorites. But I love the fact that like there's like an underdog situation right now. I mean, we were kind of underdogs already, but like now it's kind of like, now we got to beat the Goliath Dodgers.
Yeah.
So I like that.
I think the Yankees thrive in the underdog position, right? We saw that it's not really often that you see that, but I guess in 2017, we were able to follow through with a kind of a season that nobody really expected for the Yankees to have that year. So, Bauer would have been nice to have him, but hey, I'm pretty comfortable with the moves that the Yankees have made. So we'll see how that pans out. But even though he's off the table, there's still $9 million of flexibility. And you and I were talking about this the other day. Just kind of doesn't look like the Yankees going to bring back Brett Gardner, right? So what could they do with those $9 million in cap space? And I'm going to go back to something that we spoke about, and I think you feel very passionately about, and that's former Yankee James Paxton, right? James Paxton actually pitched pretty well for us while he was here in New York. He obviously had a pretty rough season last year due to injuries, but they got him at a bargain, right? 2019, he was 15-6. He had a 7.14 win percentage, an ERA of 3.82 in 29 games. That's 64 earned runs, over 150 innings pitched. Only gave up 23 home runs, which is funny because it seems like every other pitch that he threw at some point was like a home run. But that's actually it's not bad. 55 walks, 186 Ks. Now you saw a drop in 2020. He only got to pitch 5 games. He went 1-1 with a 6.64 ERA. Not what you want, but in his first season they got him at a real steal, right? $8.5 million. And last year, because of arbitration, they both settled at both sides, the Yankees and Paxton, $12.5 million. But I think if the Yankees could come back and maybe offer him like a 2-year deal, somewhere in the range of like around $7.5-8 million a year, I think that gives us a lot of flexibility to make some moves with our pitching staff, starters, and our bullpen soldiers. What say you, good sir?
If we have $9 million and we're going to give all of it to Paxton, no offense to Paxton, I like him a lot. I thought he should have been even more of a focal point for us to bring him in earlier on, but now I think he's going to demand a little bit more, seeing that he's one of the top pitchers out there left. But you're telling me no Brett Gardner? Come on. But honestly, I would love to have Paxton obviously over Brett Gardner just because of the basic needs of the team. You
Right.
know, Paxton is, he had some struggles for sure. 2019, he was a good pitcher. Yeah, he had that one good game against the Astros, but I think like the fight in the guy is what you like to see, and I think it's pretty easy for us to feel that we may see that again if he was going to pitch here again. I would hope that he wouldn't get that much money, and the way that Cashman seems to be playing this with pretty much everybody is, I'm not really going to pay a premium to get you.
Right.
And he's going to wait it out. And, that might mean that he doesn't come here and he finds someone who's willing to pay that premium somewhere else. But there's no doubt, man, I would definitely want to have him back. But if we talk about this rotation, Danny, like even without Paxton, like we have a lot of, what ifs. But even with the what ifs, we're talking about like a potential 7 starters, right? I mean, we're talking about Herman, we're talking about Schmidt, we're Davey Garcia. That's not including Nicole Kluber and Montgomery. There's just so many potential. So if we're looking for that long, middle relief guy, or even like on a bullpen day kind of guy that's going to come in and pitch like 3 innings, I think we're going to be able to get that anyway. But there is definitely some good feeling to have this guy either in like the 3rd or 4th spot. He's willing to go to bat, and I'm willing to go to bat for him being on our squad again.
Yeah. I mean that wouldn't be a bad guy to have at the tail end of a rotation, but I guess in today's game, if you would ask me 20 years ago, paying $9 million a year for back of the end kind of guy, I would look at you like you had 5 eyes. But when we saw Paxton deliver the kind of intensity that he has, and he's been big in playoff spots. We went to that game that he pitched against Houston in the playoffs, which was a huge game. And that, seeing that Aaron Boone step out of the dugout and try to pull him from the game.
He said, "Nah, you're not doing this to me. I ain't Blake Snell."
Right. Which, that in itself, by the way, was hysterical. We'll get into that later, what happened with Blake Snell today. But yeah, I mean, you like to see that kind of tenacity, and it was a small sample size of what we got with Paxton. And for those that don't know why he missed as much time as he missed last year, it was just this weird freak accident. He had an ingrown hair in his lower back, which I guess became infected, and then that caused him to require surgery, which obviously set him back for the 2020 season. But if we could bring him back on a good deal, I think that leaves a number of different options open for us, right? He could be a 4 or 5 guy, and we could sort of shuffle one of those guys that we think that are going to be in the tail end of the rotation into a solid middle relief guy, because I think that's what we're lacking right now. I don't trust Cesta. You can only wonder who else the Yankees have in mind in filling that role. We're always going to need someone to get us to the bridge of Green, Britton, Chapman, right? I guess that's the formula to close out the game. So in the bullpen right now, of course, we got O'Day. So you hope that he could be something better than what Ottavino was during his time here. But if you're able to shuffle Herman in there, Monty in there, perhaps even Schmidt or Garcia to fulfill that spot, then I think that bolsters our bullpen as well. So I think it's a 2-for-1 deal. You bring in Paxton and you're solidifying your bullpen spot by throwing that big arm in the rotation as a big time middle relief guy.
Yeah, for sure. Um, if you were wondering what most Yankee fans, and I say most Yankee fans, are doing right now, uh, is in regards to Brett Gardner. I mean, this is basically him right now. This is us. This is us looking for Brett Gardner.
Yo,
maybe it's me. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like we all out there looking for him.
Where is Brett? I'm a big fan of The Weeknd. He's one of my favorite artists. I was a little skeptical when I heard that he was selected to do this show for the halftime show for the Super Bowl, only because like he doesn't really fit that mold. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was like one of the most epic performances that I've seen, but I will say that moment right there was absolutely hysterical.
I liked the performance. I didn't go crazy for it, but especially liked, everybody on the field. That was kind of like a crazy moment, you know. But other than the jock straps over the people's faces, I thought everything
so
was fine.
did you see the memes on that? They were like, first time everyone in Florida was actually wearing a mask.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, no, you're right. Hey, look, man, we spoke about Brett Gardner a number of different times. It'd be nice to have Brett back, but hey, we do have other needs.
For sure.
So if the Yankees could go out and get Paxton with this remainder of somewhere in the realm of like, $7 to $8 million, then that'll certainly be ideal. But we do have some good news finally as far as the direction of the season's going to go. Right, both the Players Association or the Players Union and the MLB owners came to an agreement. Right, so we are going to have a season. Some of the rules include a 26-man roster. Okay, 5 additional taxi squad players. They did decide to go back to speeding up the games by putting the runners on second base to start extra innings. And they are going to do 7-inning doubleheaders again, which isn't bad. And another thing that came out today, at least for the month of April, the games are going to be starting at 6:35, which is fantastic. I wish they did that more often.
For sure.
Right. The games that start at like 7:05, 7:30, you get a 3.5 hour game. Or for like one of those games that when Aaron Hicks made that incredible catch in center field against the Twins, which lasted. Remember how long we were texting for? It was like a 5-hour game, man.
That was a great game. But yeah, I remember that for sure. It saves some time for sure.
Right. They are going to
a lag time in like between 6 to like 7. Like I feel like you're getting home either from work or if you work remote, like you're just kind of like getting settled. You might even have dinner. You might do a couple things, and then you're like, all right. You kind of just like wait for it to start, But 6:30 is kind of like, yo, it's time to go as soon as you're out of work or whatever.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like the 7-inning games, doubleheader games, just to speed it up. For this season, at least, we're still living through some pretty interesting times, so they do have to get creative with what they could do. And I think for the most part, it worked last year. So they're going to be, of course, contact tracing. I think this season they plan to be a little more strict with the face mask compliance. They actually, each team is going to have a compliance officer, and they will be fined if they're not wearing these masks. We saw the NFL do it. A lot of these coaches would go batshit and just kind of take their mask off, and the league would go back and look over the video and fine them. So they're going to be doing that. All the fines are going to go to charity. So that's always a good thing. There's still no word yet on the DH situation, the universal DH, which I think is silly, man. Let's put this to an end already with this traditional nonsense of the pitcher hitting. We don't want it anymore. It's silly. That ship has sailed as soon as Bartolo Colon retired. That was the last person I wanted to see hit because it was funny. right? It was entertaining. But now it's not entertaining anymore. A lot of these pitchers haven't swung at a ball since high school. That was the last time they actually competitively hit. So I think part of the idea is that they're going to be using that as a bargaining tool for the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. They're supposed to have at the end of this season for years to come. So I think that's something that they're going to do to try to use to their advantage to net more money or more income or just whatever their demands are. Good news is, Yes is going to be having 20 spring training games, and the first one is going to be on Saturday, February 27th.
Yeah, that's huge. Everything with the Players Association and the owners is just a weird topic. I heard something that like I feel like Michael Kay hit it spot on when he was just like, why do we even hear about all the things that happen in the back end? Like, I don't really want to know anything that goes on with those guys. I just want to like know that there's a game coming and that's it. I feel like it, kind of drags like baseball overall. But then, there's also the Governor Cuomo announcement, that
Right.
10% capacity to start in New York State. That means even like, I think it's by the end of this month, right? Isn't it end of February?
Yeah, well, at the end of February, yeah. So the Nets, the New Jersey Nets, we long time Brooklynite, excuse me, does not claim them. But yeah, they're going to be having 2,000 fans in the arena. I don't know if you saw $600 tickets in order to go.
Yeah, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of people waiting to pay that too. I saw that Knicks tickets are also for sale. Our man Coco here was shooting me some text that he might even be able to get a hold of some tickets early on for the Yankees in April.
Okay, Coco.
Exclusive deal Coco. That's what we call him now.
Yo, I like it.
So
he's got the gabagool.
That's really exciting though, Dan. That that we could even get the potential for having some normalcy of fans going to games. I feel like if we were to get like 5,000 people to a game, it would sound significantly different already, just having a few thousand people there. But, to talk more about this, we're going to bring in somebody who's been great for the Gate 6 fans so far, literally spits out information before anybody can finish
Dylan, spit hot fire.
Yeah, it's crazy how great she's been for the group and getting information out there. So a warm welcome to our favorite Bree.
Yo, what up, Bree?
Hey guys.
What's going on?
Not a whole lot. Just trying to get through another week.
I hear you. I like the shirt.
Yeah, I wore it. I just put it on for you guys.
Nice. Is that a roto wear?
Ooh.
Yep. Nice. All right. Solid. Shout out to Bree. And yo, shout out to everyone that's in the room right now, right? We got Coco, Stagnation represent. We got my brother Miguel, Lizzie. What up? Yo, Lizzie, congratulations, man, on your achievement. She just got her master's, right? So salute to you, Lizzie. That's certainly not an easy thing to obtain. So you did the damn thing, right?
High society now. She's high society now.
High society. Looks like we got Steven Fernandez watching, Harry Palacios, my boy Jesse. What up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. And Bree, thanks for joining us. So what are your thoughts and your sentiments about this news regarding the fans that are going to be in attendance, hopefully by the start of the spring training and opening day?
I think those ticket prices are going to be astronomical.
Indeed.
Like,
agreed.
I mean, as if they weren't already astronomical for Yankees fans, but
right.
I don't even want to fathom it at this point because thinking about it hurts my pockets.
It does, yeah.
I'm like, am I going to be able to afford to go to a game? I don't know. I hope they have a really good system in place. That's my biggest hope, because otherwise it could be really bad. And I've seen a lot of games, especially football games, and people were not spread out at all. So I'm just curious to see how they're going to enforce the rules, because it's one thing to have the rules, but then you have to actually enforce them. And I'm just curious to see how that's going to play out. Because we all know fans, especially after having some drinks in them, aren't always the most cooperative. So
right.
Speaking of having some drinks,
yeah, fans and 7-time Super Bowl champions.
Crazy, bro.
Oh my God.
Completely staged, by the way.
Do you think so?
I think it's the most fraudulent thing I've ever seen.
Well, I don't know, man, because one of the funniest things is that a lot of people joke that Tom Brady doesn't even eat. It's just like, what does he eat? He eats almonds, spinach, and avocado.
He's the kind of guy that orders a salad with no dressing.
Does he even eat food? I'm convinced he's a robot.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Tom Brady is who he is. But yeah, no, you're certainly right about it's going to be hard. I think the Super Bowl did a pretty good job. It looked like they had like some cutouts in between to sort of keep people spaced apart. I think they had 25,000 people in attendance, and you keep hearing about this pod setup that's supposed to be in place. So I wonder how those pods are going to look. But yeah, you're right. Like, I expect the ticket prices to be insane. I'm not sure if I'll be going anytime soon. I was sort of wondering, like, because this obviously is going to be this way for a while until most of the public could get vaccinated. So I was wondering, like, if the Yankees would come up with different types of way to create some kind of interactive experience at home for the fans, rather than just watch it on the Yes Network. Something along the lines of like what the NBA bubble did, and how they had like the fans on the sides and the projectors and the different TVs. This is the stuff that baseball has to come up with. It's falling behind so terribly in just like growing the sport. But
you saw the Super Bowl had it looked like it was like a full crowd. I mean, there was a lot of people there in between those cutouts, but you could do like cutouts in like not every section, and then like have some fans in between. But I'll tell you this about the whole fan situation going to the games. If prices are going to be high, I have a feeling they're not going to be that high outside of like big games, like opening day or whatever. But I was already brainstorming ideas on how.
Juicy.
Yeah, if the tickets were crazy, I was like, all right, let's create some sort of fund for members of Gate 6 to be able to go to a game. Maybe like a handful or so. We would have to find out all about the entry and vaccinations and all that stuff prior to. I don't know if any of that stuff has come out yet. But
they said you have to have been tested within, I think it was 72 hours
of going to the game.
Yes, and then you had to also be have your temperature checked.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I would love to go to a game. I don't know if I'm going to jump through all those hoops to do it right away, but and it looks like throughout the season, it's going to get a little bit bigger. So, I guess we'll have to just keep an eye on that. Coco is actually saying now that, he has some dates available that he's been seeing on his end. And some of them are just like $20 for certain games in early April. So, I mean, that's a possibility too.
No doubt, Coco will definitely massive amounts of gabagool. We'll definitely keep that in the chamber, because it would be nice to finally organize something. But I know where you could actually see a game at a reasonable price, Bree, and that's at Oriole Park, Camden Yards. I mean, who's gonna go see those guys this year?
Only problem is that Maryland is just now reopening just like restaurants for this weekend. So
okay.
I don't know if Hogan will be as desiring of having people in the stands. I don't know. But then again, he opened Baltimore before he opened where I live, which is much smaller in comparison. And I won't even get into all that, but it was interesting to see how they made decisions for our state. So
yeah,
anything is possible, but yes, it's always cheaper at Camden.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love going there. I love going there.
My husband is a Orioles fan. So
things luckily you two weren't together back in the 90s when the Yankees were big time rivals with the Orioles back then, right?
Oh, we don't talk about Jeffrey Mayer in my household.
Okay. That's on the list of banished names and words.
True.
But yeah, they're saying that, you know, they're going to start with the 10%, and then many believe that as the months go on, they'll add 10% and possibly reach 50% by the middle of the summer. So we'll see what happens. I guess you have to be cautiously optimistic at the moment. But going back to some, you know, what to expect and what we see out in the field, and I think somebody that has been a nice little piece for us. He's been a fun watch, but obviously has had his moments in the playoffs, and that's Aroldis Chapman. There are reports out that Aroldis is looking to add another pitch to his repertoire, which he already knows how to throw it, but he wants to throw more of a splitter. In 2020, he relied obviously on his four-seam fastball, which averaged about 98 miles per hour. He mixed in his slider, which clocks in at about 86. Occasionally, he would throw a sinker. That at times has come in at 101. But listen, at the end of the day, we've seen Chapman pitch for X amount of years, and we know if his fastball ain't on, he's going to go to his splitter. And if he's going to go to his splitter and his splitter ain't on and he hangs it up in that zone, then that's just going to be punched into the seats. So, you know, I think him adding a splitter, a slider, adding a splitter to sort of negate him throwing his slider quite often would be an excellent thing, considering that, you know, he in 2020 he threw 145 four-seam fastballs and 43 sliders. So he's pretty much become a predictable pitcher at this point. So, you know, dudes are throwing 100 plus like it's nothing now. So he definitely has to reinvent himself, because I'm tired of seeing him give up a big bomb and smile about it afterwards. But I think everyone here can agree, right?
Well, it's kind of weird to include a pitch in your 12th season. Maybe he's just doing this to bring back Tanaka's splitter, since we're not going to have Tanaka Tuesdays. But, you know, listen, if he can add something that will actually work, I guess, I mean, he would be trying this out in spring training, right? So I guess we'd have to keep an eye on this over spring training. But he's still been able to get, you know, strikeouts, even during the 13 games that he was in last year. You know, his blown saves, obviously. The thing is about his blown saves, I always feel like they're coming in a tie game situation more so. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, not the blown saves. The losses he gets are in a tie game situation. You know, so I just think that he, if he's going to add this pitch, it's going to be like his third pitch, you know, his secondary out pitch, or, you know, I don't know. I think it's a little bit weird to add something like this. I don't think he's going to be reinventing himself altogether, but I think we're just going to have to keep a close eye on his situation in spring training.
Sure. Absolutely.
Does that mean that they'll stop having him come in more than one inning in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of managers have to get that out of their minds, that pitchers are built the way that Mo Rivera was, where Mo could get you 9 outs if need be. Just Chapman isn't that guy.
He's not.
You know,
he never was.
Right.
So I think if Boone were smart, he would say, I'm only bringing you in for the 9th inning. Now, obviously things will always happen, but if you can avoid it at all costs, only bring him in for the 9th inning. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Like, if I had $1, if someone was like, okay, either he's going to bring him in early and he's going to blow the game, or he's going to bring him in the 9th inning, I would say, okay, I'm putting my money on the fact that if he brings him in before that, he's going to blow the game.
Right.
It's a given. It's practically automatic at this point. So why do you keep doing it?
Mm-hmm. The dude's a creature of habit, for sure.
Come on, man. You gotta put trust in somebody else, because he's obviously not the guy.
Right. Well,
and you have a guy who was a closer, so you could even. I mean, I'd be more willing to put my extra inning to Zach Britton than to give it to Chapman.
True. Yeah, Zach Britton's been pretty big time for us, and I think the leash with Chapman this season should be pretty short. And if he's not delivering in his closer role, you have another closer right there that you locked in for a reason, right? So, but I think they're trying to treat the situation calmly, because obviously, he kind of strikes me as a little bit of a prima donna to a certain extent. He has his rituals and his routines. If you ever see him on social media, I don't want to see you lift 300, bro. I just want to see you getting out when it means the most in the playoffs. Like, that's what I need. So we'll see how this works out.
I want to lift.
But so with Chapman obviously reinventing himself in his 13th year, I guess you could say, another thing that just needs reinvention altogether, I think, is just the sport of baseball, right? John and I have spoken about this very often, and I alluded to this earlier in the stream. I just think baseball, it's kind of falling behind in the hype as far as the major sports are concerned, right? Here we are, we're getting ready for spring training. Okay. This has been the 3rd season in a row where I feel like free agency has been an absolute dud as far as like marketing it. Even when we had Machado and Harper that were out there, I feel like they didn't tap into it as best as they could. And if you listen to most New York sports talk shows are talking about, where is Russell Wilson going? Where is Deshaun Watson? Obviously, that has a bit of relevance because he might be going to the Jets. But just to hear that football just finished and baseball is about to begin, and the main topic on a lot of these sports shows is football, speaks volumes of what's going on with this sport right now. So I think it would behoove them to sort of get away from this golden era ideology and really think about how to improve on what your fans want, how to lure and bring in new fans. This is something that they've been lacking for quite some time. And you're seeing a drop in, inner city youth as far as what sports they're choosing to play. Baseball isn't at the top anymore. So what can they do to really improve these situations that baseball has found itself in the last few years?
Well, they could first start branding their major players. Like, I mean, there are some studs right now that are in baseball with Mike Trout, Judge, Mookie Betts. These guys are, amazing athletes right now, and they don't seem to. You don't hear about these guys. You don't hear about Judge outside of New York, really. And,
right.
And you know what? And these talk shows, I mean, we listen to them all the time. They're gonna have to talk about the things that's in everybody's mind. I mean, just so you understand, and I know everybody knows like where baseball is and like the top sports here in like America. But check this out. In 2019, the favorite sport, asking in a poll started from 2010 to 2019, favorite sport was 37% NFL, and it changed to go up to 38%. That's number one. Basketball went from 14% to 15.3%. Baseball technically grew from 9% to 14.8% to 2020. So, and soccer falls actually in 4th place, and then hockey 5th. So baseball technically grew in favorite sport categories, but that just means that baseball's 85% of people that are watching sports, baseball, it's not their favorite sport.
Right.
So, and the viewership falls in the same kind of categories. So, I mean, the talk shows are definitely not going to cover baseball, in January and early February, really, unless something big happens in the offseason. So I understand why they do that. But they really need to start, latching on to these guys. And that's really the only way I think they need to get out of that old school mindset. Like we were talking about the fans and stands and different creative ideas they can do to grow the game. Having mics, remember the All-Star game, having mics and videos, during the game, stuff like that will definitely appeal to people. I mean, that was one of the most attractive things about that All-Star game. We were just these guys are videoing each other. And it was so cool to hear. I forget who it was. Was it Verlander saying that Judge was going to hit a home run and then he hits a home run? That was the coolest thing I ever seen on a field between players that rivals even. So that's a start.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Brie?
I agree with you 100%. I think one of the biggest problems, I don't know about you guys. Well, actually, I'm fairly certain I know this going into this. When I was growing up, Griffey was a big deal. Griffey was a superstar, and it didn't matter what other sports you were into. You knew who Griffey was. You wanted his sneakers. You wanted to be like him. He was in commercials. He was marketable. And there's nobody that I can think of that has any sort of emotion on that level for baseball right now. Are they popular with fans? Sure. Everybody knows who Mike Trout is, but I don't see him in commercials the way that I saw Griffey in commercials. And Griffey was playing in Seattle. So I can't even be oh, it was just because it was someone who was on a big market team. Not even the case. Seattle's a bigger market, but it's not LA or New York. So you're telling me you can't find anybody. I mean, Mookie Betts, that screams marketable. He's seems like a nice guy. He comes off very genuine. I can think of him, Judge and Trout. I mean, Trout's a weirdo, but there are a bunch of guys that are very much marketable, and I don't think that they are taking advantage of that. And I also think that just advertising in general for them has always been a problem. They make these cute little commercials once a year, and then they're like, okay, that's it. And then it's over. And then I never hear anything. I never see commercials about baseball. I don't see it. It's not in my face the way other sports are. And I think it's all about, for right now in this generation, it has to grab your attention, and it has to keep your attention for longer than 5 seconds. Otherwise, they'll blow past you. And I think there are plenty of ideas that they can incorporate. Like what you said about the mics is great. I don't know if you guys saw, but during the playoffs, Nickelodeon was playing one of the football games, one of the NFL playoff games.
Yep.
And they were I thought that would be a genius way for them. Pick one baseball game a week and do the same exact thing. Put it on Nickelodeon, have players get slimed or something. All of those ideas. I mean, I could sit here and give a million ideas of how they could market it better. They're just not doing it. And I partially blame Manfred, and I partially blame the people that are in charge of marketing. I just don't understand how you're failing this badly.
Yeah, I think the reality is it all boils down to leadership. When you have predominantly, boomers that are at the helm right now making all these decisions on the direction that the game should go, how is that relatable to the newer generations that are looking to attach to the sport? So yeah, you're right. That idea with the Nickelodeon thing was fantastic. You had adults.
I'm 37. Right. You know what I mean? If that worked for me, I can only imagine what that would work how that would work for kids.
Right. So they're gonna have to get off their high horse and really start to figure out what they're going to do, because quite frankly, they're alienating a demographic and in the youth and these viewers that they should be capturing their attention. Doesn't really seem like it's all that important to them. They just want to stick to what they know, and over time, it's just not gonna. mold well with certain people.
I'm trying to imagine like the Zoom pitch to Manfred and like the owners about like the Nickelodeon, and then they're throwing like, you know, sliding into home plate and then just like a splat, and they're just like looking at them like, yeah, we're not doing this in our game.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure.
They need to. They really need to.
Well, you know, I think the biggest thing though, and why we're seeing such a stagnant process in this game growing, is just the animosity that exists between the owners and the players, right? All the other major sports, basketball and football, the NFL, they have reached sort of a partnership with their players, right? Where they've worked out like different forms of payment and how they're going to be earning, and so this gives the players a vested interest. They have the drive to want to grow the sport. When you have these two sides that are clashing and they're not forming a partnership, that's just creating animosity. So what really gives either side the idea to want to grow the sport when I guess they just figure like, we'll just keep making our money the way that it is. And that's that. So I think that that's something that needs to be fixed in the next CBA. The two sides really need to talk it out and come to some kind of common ground where the players are partners with the owners. That way they could grow the sport the way the players see fit.
I also feel like the other thing that affects that is when you have owners and just Manfred, that's what I call him. All those guys, those older guys, very like OG, like stuck in their ways. You have someone like a Fernando Tatis who could be a superstar. Like people love him. Like young guys really like him and like that he's flashy and like that he breaks the rules of the old school, like throwback rules of unwritten rules of baseball. But they're not going to allow him to be what he could be because he goes against everything that they think is important. And that's another frustrating aspect of it, where it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to just let this game bury itself and just die off? Because what's going to happen? All the people that are their age are going to die at some point. And then what? You won't have kids interested in the game because they're not being shown what it could be or how fun it could be. Like kids think baseball's boring. And I don't blame them, because if I were a kid, I would look at baseball and assume it was boring too, because what else am I seeing? I'm just seeing a bunch of people complaining about how boring it is and changing some rules that have nothing to do with making it more fun. Mm-hmm. The rules they change have nothing to do. They don't do anything. They don't make it any more fun. So I don't know. To me, I just feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot every time that they don't take an opportunity to push the game forward and move it in a direction to where the future looks brighter than what it is right now.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. You know, and Miguel brings up a very valid point on top of all the points that you just made, Bree. One of the great models that the MLB should be looking at is the WBC. They're involved in it. Their players are involved in it. You see how baseball is played in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and it's festive. Even Miguel has been to a game in the Cuban League. He's been to a game in Cuba, and he says, you know, how great it is. So if you're getting obviously Cuba is a little bit of a tricky situation as far as like Cuba. Foreign policy. I'm sorry, Cuba. As far as foreign policy is concerned, but you do have access to these other countries and their resources. You know, marry some of these ideas and see how you could incorporate it into your game to grow the game, make it fun. Because like you alluded to earlier, Bree, you have 5 seconds to get somebody's attention in today's society. And if you don't grab that attention and you lose it, that's it. They're on to the next one. There's so much consumption available. You even have access to like Premier League games.
Yeah.
I could even watch curling if I wanted to now. Not to say that I'm a professional at watching curling and I know what the hell's going on, but I'm just saying.
I know what you're doing between the hours of 11 a.m. and 1 p.m.
You're right. Busted. But yeah, at the end of the day, they just really need to come to some sort of common ground, and you can make minor changes to the game, but that's not really where most of it is stemming from. Most of it is just stemming from the marketing aspect of it. And like you said, the game doesn't promote its players. Right? We can't even. Mike Trout is the superstar of the game, and he's not even on the level of promotion as the way that Ken Griffey Jr. was. So they need to.
Ken Griffey just get like a job with baseball?
Well, he did. Yeah, he did. And I think
I'm excited about that.
Bree posted that, and that was great. You know, they called him the kid, and he had that iconic commercial during the playoffs with the "Let the kids play," which I thought was great. That's the message that you want to send. Like, let them play. Let them showboat a little bit. I love what Tim Anderson does in Chicago. I think that's dope. Like when he gets so hyped about hitting a home run. There's nothing that matches that kind of. Now, if he does that and then he gets plunked, then you know that's coming to you too. Like you understand that, but I don't mind it. So hopefully,
young people love it. Young people love it.
Absolutely, and that's stop. You know, steering away from young people because they're not the one that's like, I guess in their eyes, like spending the money. It's really the parents. But what are the parents doing? They want to show their kids a good time, right? So the way you're going to get your kids to the park is by them enjoying the game. So got to do it, baseball. Manfred, whatever you want to call yourself, Joe Torre, if you're listening out there, help us out. Okay, we love this game. We want to see this game continue to grow.
Put down the Bigelow T and let's make some moves, Joe.
Word.
Speaking of what, like, we're talking about that, like with just the games, you know, just days away from, you know, pitchers and catchers now. I think they pushed it back a day, like a week or so ago.
The 17th. Like, yeah, so instead of the 15th, it's the 17th now that they report.
Nice. Okay, another COVID delay. So you know, there's that's happening. The first game being the 27th. I know we talked about going to games, but now they released the schedule, right? So we already had, I think, the majority of the schedule in place. I think before the full release, but you know what? There's a lot of interesting things with this 162 game season. It kind of feels weird to have a full season now, and just after 1 year of not having it. But you know, I was looking at the schedule briefly, and I had this weird feeling looking at the schedule. I was like looking at this and saying to myself, like, I don't think we should really lose almost any games here. Like every time, like on paper or just like we're playing. Yeah.
We're not losing any games this year.
Yeah, we're going 162-0. Where's the gabagoo? So
yeah, we don't lose.
But like, you know, there was always like you were looking forward to certain weekends or certain games against certain teams, whether it's the Astros or the Sox or whoever in recent years. But like right now, with the way our division is, even the way that the American League is, I look at their schedule outside of like, you know, the hype around Toronto. Can Tampa do what they did with losing who they did throughout the season? Houston, you know, really not making any serious moves. They were blessed last year. You know, yeah, Chicago White Sox. That's a really big series to look forward to in August on the 13th. And then I was also looking at which games, you know, traditionally, you know, Gate 6, one of the things that we like to do a lot was travel to a bunch of games. It's, you know, something that we were doing for the first few years that we couldn't do last year. I was looking at which games we would want to go. Chicago would definitely be midsummer, like one of those games that Gate 6 would be at, maybe even Kansas City, like, you know, a few days before that, knock out those two places at once. But, you know, I just was looking at it. I was like, you know, I feel pretty good about all these series. Not saying we're going to go 162-0, and predictions of the season are not coming until just before opening day. But I do have a pretty high win total as of right now. We'll see what happens in training. But there's
you have every right to feel
say
that
162.
we may or may not, you know, over under of 141. But for real, like I think it's just I have confidence in the team early on right now, but I think it has more to do with who we're playing, and like the teams around us have kind of regressed. I'm sure there's going to be a team or two that we're not even thinking of that are just going to like come out of nowhere and be right up there with us. And traditionally we start off pretty slow, so I just, there's a lot to look forward to. Any specific dates, Dan, that you are, really looking forward to?
Well, I think the opening the season against the Blue Jays is going to be big. I think that pretty much sets the tone as to how we expect this season to go, right? It could go, we get completely crushed and it's just like, oh my God, panic zone, and then you're going to get everyone fire Boone, fire Cashman in typical Yankee fashion after 2 weeks in. But, the Blue Jays, the moves that they've made, they're obviously considering themselves one of the perennial favorites to win the division. And they went out and they got George Springer. We're going to have to face him a lot more now. He's a really tough at bat. The guy is a power hitter. And he's just a smart baseball player. So with the addition of him, Ryu, the pitcher out of the LA with the Dodgers, bringing him in, and couple that with the people that they've had already, and Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr. lost weight. So looks like he's now taking this seriously. Of course, they got Kevin Biggio. So they're a team to look out for. And of course, Rays, you can't sleep on them. They have lost a few people in Blake Snell, which, by the way, Blake Snell had an elite tweet today in response to National Roast Day with Wendy's. Tampa Bay asked Wendy's to roast them, and Wendy's said something along the lines of like, it's almost like you pulled your social media manager in the middle of the inning. And obviously they were referring to what they did with Blake Snell. But yeah, he's gone with Tampa Bay, and they lost Charlie Morton, but I'm still going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to want to put on a show. You alluded to the White Sox. The White Sox have made some big-time moves. They also have some big-time talent in Eloy Jimenez. They got the other kid, Luis Robert. They brought in Adam Eaton. They brought in Lance Lynn, right? And then you have Lucas Giolito and all these other guys that are in their starting rotation. So they might even be like that first round playoff team that we face this season, and not the Twins like we're normally accustomed to doing, or the Indians. So those are pretty fun. I think you can't really put too much stake in what goes on with the Red Sox this year. They just traded Andrew Benintendi to the Royals. They ain't going for it. They're just trying to break it down. They brought in Chaim Bloom from the Rays to essentially follow that same kind of format. So you don't know when the Red Sox are going to be good again. Phillies,
their biggest acquisition is Ottavino.
Right. Yeah. So the guy that said he could strike out Babe Ruth, which is interesting. I think we mentioned that in the last show, considering that both of them played on the same teams. I think the Phillies are going to be just a fun little series to watch in July. We'll see some familiar faces in Girardi and Didi returning. That's always nice to get a load of. Of course, they have Harper, and they just re-signed Real Muto. So I think the Mets need to pump their brakes in acting like that the division is theirs, because the Phillies, they still got some players on there. And Coco brought up the Astros before. Hey, it'll be great if the Astros come to Yankee Stadium and there's 2,000 fans, 500 fans, whatever. That place is going to project. They they got lucky last year after that whole scandal was revealed in not having to deal with any fans in the ballpark. Nobody forgot. Everybody's just ready to let loose on them. So I think this is going to be an exciting season. It's not as, I guess you could say, diverse as it normally is. Not a lot of West Coast trips, obviously. There's not a lot of trips in general because they're trying to keep traveling to a minimum since they're not going a bubble format. But hey, the projections came out. The experts have it, the Yankees at 97-65.
Experts.
Yeah, the experts, right. 97-65 on the year. Tampa Bay in second place, 86-76, and the Blue Jays at 85-77. So we'll see. It's 162 games. They got to produce over 162 games. They got to show up for these games in order to put themselves in a good position for the playoffs.
What did they have our projections for? Projections?
97-65.
And the closest team to us was the Rays at 86.
86. So they got us winning 11 more games than they project for the Rays to win. So those are good projections. I like those projections, but like you said, experts. Okay, a lot can happen. Obviously, this isn't it's factoring in the current state of the roster.
We're only going to win 96 games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've gotten so used to winning 100 games, right? So it's like, come on, 90, 97. Come on. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. Bree?
My number one is definitely going to be the Astros because I still have all the hatred in my heart and soul for them. So I would love to be there for that. Love to be there for that. And I don't think what you said is true. I don't think any Yankees fans forget. So they've been holding it all in and waiting. And that means that once they get there, that it doesn't matter if there's 500 or 5,000, you'll hear them and they'll be loud and they'll be themselves. And we all know what that's like.
Right.
I agree. I am looking forward to the White Sox. There's a lot of hype around them right now. Warranted. They deserve it. I'm also actually looking forward to us playing Atlanta because I think they always play us hard and it's always a fun series to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a lot of like really good young guys and their pitching is good. I mean, they're a great team. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, that's a postseason squad, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And then I always look forward to Subway Series because we all have Mets fan friends and they're always fun to mess with. So
right, bragging rights.
We look forward to those series way more than we do.
Oh, for sure. But
Yeah.
I just enjoy like when we win, how fun that is.
No, it's always a series. And actually, if you look at the last times we played them, it was like all one score games, like in recent years, or at least last.
They play us hard. They always play us hard, and I
love that. I love that inner city battle stuff. But this year with their acquisitions, they're a little bit hyped. It would be nice, kind of damper that down a bit. But for sure, I'd be excited for that too.
I also my like sleeper series that I always think about is Oakland, because they also always play us hard. A lot of the times we've lost recently, but I like watching them play. Also, Atlanta and Oakland give me very similar vibes as to like their roster and how they play.
For sure.
Yeah, no, Oakland is a fun watch. They just traded Chris Davis, right? They traded Chris Davis in return for, I forget who it was that they actually made that deal for, but it'll be interesting to see how that changes the whole dynamic. Chris Davis with a K, by the way, for those. They traded him to the Rangers. That's right. They traded Chris Davis away to the Rangers for Elvis Andrus. So they certainly boosted their defense at the shortstop position. And then that left side of the field should be pretty good with Matt Chapman there and Elvis Andrus. So they're always a fun watch too. And you know what's really sad, that they are the last team in the city of Oakland and the city refuses to give them a new stadium.
And that's horrible.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. I dated a woman from the Bay, so like I would go over there, and she was a big time Raiders fan. So she would love going there just specifically for that reason. But that place is just it's not the kind of place that you want to go. It is better than the Trop, I will say that, but it's still not the
It's like
prettiest.
when you say it better, it's like this much better.
Yeah, right. It's like
It's so bad.
slightly, yeah. But yeah, that should be fun. And Miguel said he wants to see the Rays. He's petty and vengeful.
Yeah, man.
Yay, petty and vengeful. That should
Yeah.
be like the name of our group outside of Gate 6. Could just be
Yes.
petty and vengeful.
Yeah, the petty and vengeful crew.
I want to see that too, man. I'd love to see us against the Rays. That because there is like a weird taste in our mouth from how last season ended, and with DJ's comments about like thinking that the better team lost or that like we faced the Rays when they were hot. I kind of agree with him. I'm not saying that the Rays weren't better than us. I think they were in the regular season, but to kind of there's been this like idea that the Rays like beat us up like in a division series when they won like a walk-off in extra innings in Game 5. I'd like to get back at them.
Let's not forget too. Right, let's not. Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that. Let's not forget the words that Kevin Cash had all year, just with the whole like, I got a stable full of guys that throw 98 and all this.
You know what bothers me about this whole the bulletin board material though? I feel like we do this all the time with the Yankees. Like there was, Alex Cora is going to be back this year, right, with the Red Sox, and like there was a lot of shit that he had said the year that they won in 2018.
Right.
And, like, I don't think like the Yankees, they don't have that guy right now. That's kind of like that wild card. That's like like going to put on as like in some sort of revenge.
They got the big boys though. They got the muscle boys. Like if any of the teams really want to throw down, just Giancarlo and Judge alone will just stomp most of these dudes.
There's like over 5 guys who were like 6'5" and taller. Like why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
We know that what Chapman will go bench press these guys, and then he'll take a dump in his pants right after, right on the diamond.
Dude,
Could you imagine a fight with Judge and Stan on the front lines, and you're trying to hold your own, and then all of a sudden you see out from the bullpen Chapman running in, and it's like, yo, I'm out.
I think most people would run away in fear that he would actually take a crap on them. So, but yeah, so a lot to look forward to this season schedule wise. I hope it works in our favor, and I hope the experts are right. I would be happy with 97 games. Ideally, I would like more, but hey, that's just me being a Yankee fan. But just a last look before the start of the season or spring training, excuse me, because obviously that'll be happening 6 days from now when pitchers and catchers report. We talk about this fondly all the time. It's a trip that we like to take down to George M. Steinbrenner Field. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be a thing this year. We've reached out to the reps that we've had down there in the past, and they haven't gotten back to us. So we're just assuming that either it's just not in the works right now, or they're just waiting for the Yankees to sort of make the final call. But the most recent rankings came out for the farm systems. And, surprise, surprise, the Rays are still at number 1. And a lot of that has to do with their shortstop. I believe his name is like Wander Franco or something like that. He's just kept their farm like pretty high for years. Cleveland is there at 2. So I guess, trading off their assets for the last 4 years has done wonders for their pen. They are only at 32.6 million as far as salary goes. The Blue Jays are there at 3, which is crazy to think, right? Because you would think that all their farm products were on the big club already. The Marlins are at 4. The Diamondbacks are at 5. And, of course, our beloved Yankees, we're down to number 14, but that's because a lot of our big time talents have already joined the big club. But I think we have tremendous upside with the players that are still down there. They got some big time international talents. Of course, we're still waiting on the arrival of Jason Dominguez, the player that they keep comparing to Mike Trout and Bo Jackson. Right? You want to talk about a player that they marketed well. Bo was like the king of that. The whole Bo Knows campaign with Nike. Genius. Fantastic. But they have depth up the middle. They have depth at the catcher position. I guess they don't even know really what the future is with Gary Sanchez, so they just keep drafting catchers. And then even after the Taillon deal, like they still have their core players intact as far as the farm goes. So shout out to Cashman, man. I think Cashman doesn't get enough credit when it's due, because he does a really good job with keeping us in the fold. Michael Kay said this earlier, and I totally agree with it. When you think about how the Yankees have performed in the last 15 years, outside of 2008, we've always kind of been there, right? They've posted winning seasons, and they're down the stretch. And a lot of these other teams, you can't say that, right? Like Cleveland went on their run, they blew it up. Marlins, they won their World Series, they blew that up. The same thing with the Pirates. It would be really gut-wrenching for me if I were a fan of any of these other teams. So thankfully, we have our big boys at the club, the big club, but we still have our baby bombers in the pipeline as well. Just some people to look out for. Obviously, I said Jason Dominguez. Clark Schmidt is still considered a prospect. So is Davy Garcia. There's another shortstop that they have, Oswald Peraza. Luis Gil, he's a pitcher that was actually just down in the Dominican League. Pitched all right. So he's our fifth right now. I would like to see him perhaps contribute to the team at some point this season. You have Austin Wells, who was one of our draft picks here. Locally, stateside. Esteban Florial is still in there. I don't know if he'll ever get a shake. I think the Yankees will probably have to sort of look to put him in a deal to get somebody, because it doesn't look like he's going to be in the plans. And we have two relief pitchers, Alexander Vizcaíno and Yoendris Gomez. And then Anthony Volpe, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, my apologies, or Volpe. He was also drafted, and I believe best friends with Al Leiter's son, Jack Leiter, which I think was one of the reasons why the Yankees drafted him, because Jack Leiter, I don't know if you've seen him pitch for Vanderbilt. He is a beast, but he isn't going. He's going to do his 4 years in college because he wants to experience college. But I think the Yankees, they tried to lure him in with bringing in his best friend. But spring training, yeah, looking forward to it.
I wish we could go, but I can't wait till the 27th. Pitchers and catches are fun because there's you get to look at people throw balls around a little bit, but for the most part, that first game. Pitchers and catches. What are we gonna do with pitchers and catches when they're there? We're just oh look, they're throwing the ball around in the field today.
Nice form. Okay,
nice cleats, bro. Nice cleats this year. Good shit. You out there?
Chapman's gonna come out with some crazy swag, he normally does.
A chain like this big.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for we'll be doing this again, a couple of weeks from now, and that'll be the 25th. It looks like, which is just a couple of days before our first game. One thing that we're looking forward to doing this season, like we talked about a little bit in our last episode, is post games. We're even going to try to do potentially some live streaming of games, maybe in spring training, right here on our Facebook channel. But let's see what happens when we get there.
Right on.
I can't wait, man, till something is starting because, football's over. For our New York sports fans here, the Knicks are still interesting right now, which is a shock. But something to look forward to, and just that whole fans thing coming out, I think just kind of like jolted me a little bit. Like I can't wait till I forget about going, just seeing fans there would be really nice.
Right. I think we're sort of looking for a sense of normalcy again, and that for sure is a normal feeling, right? We grew up with that feeling because when baseball comes around, that means spring is there, and then summer is just right around the corner. And I can't speak for everyone, but summer, obviously, I have the fondest memories of either playing the game, watching the game. So totally looking forward to it. As John said, we'll keep you guys up to date with different things that we plan. The shirts are in, right? I'm actually wearing it right now.
Are you? Yeah, look at that.
Number 28 in 2021.
Official.
So we're getting in the process of getting the shop up so that if you wanted to purchase a shirt by a sign of support, that'd be fantastic. So we'll keep you up to date with that in the next newsletter, which we'll be sending out very soon. Is that right, Mr. John?
Yeah, man. They'll be in a couple weeks. Just highlighting some of the points that we covered today and anything that's happened over the last few weeks. But gearing you up for the
season. For sure. Yo, if obviously our core is here in the Facebook group, but we are trying to grow other platforms as well. So if you could follow Gate 6 Fam TV on YouTube, and if you do have a Twitch account as well, that'd be greatly appreciated. Twitch is the future of streaming. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it's really become just like a juggernaut in the last 6 months or so.
I have to say this about Twitch because that I've been exploring it over the last couple days and weeks. The other night we were listening to a DJ, right? One of was it Josh's?
Yeah, one of my homies, DJ Wolf.
I had so much fun in his channel, man.
Yeah. No, it's
so much fun. So shout out to him. I was trying
Records by Wolf.
Yeah, Records by Wolf. I was trying to figure it out, trying to learn how to, explore like the feed and the comments and all the emojis and all that. It was a lot of fun. I felt like I was in the AOL groups from years ago. So that was
right. ASL, PTP, all that good stuff. But yeah, so I mean, if you can at some point follow that or tell your friends about it. We are the people's live stream, right? So anything that you like want to talk about or discuss in future threads, we're certainly open to hearing it. You could either write in the Facebook group or email us at gate6fam@gmail.com. That is pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you,
sir. So yeah,
no problem.
Bree, thanks for tuning in, Bree, and thanks for being a contributor, both in our group and on here. We definitely appreciate your energy and your enthusiasm about it. So it is much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. And for everyone that tuned in tonight, shout out to once again, Senor Correa Miguel, my brother. Lizzie, again, congratulations on your master's degree. Whoop, whoop. Jesse, thanks for tuning in. Coco, shout out to you. Harry was in here earlier, so was a longtime homegirl of mine, Adriana. I mean, hey, it's a small start, but it is something, and it means a lot.
Cardi B, shout out to Cardi B.
Shout out to Cardi B. That Super Bowl commercial with her was ridiculous too. But anyway, as our good friend Frank Sinatra would say, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. Thanks, everybody. Peace.